Hello, I'm Jon Stapleton with CodeVA, and this is a quick tutorial on image formatting using CSS or cascading style sheets in the Twine Chapbook story format. Let's jump right into it. I've got a story up here just to start with. It's pretty straightforward. It just has a couple of passages and a couple of images. So as you can see, so it's got a nice moon, and then we have this investigate. Pretty good. Um, so that's what we have so far. Now, what CSS or cascading style sheets allow us to do is to add formatting to these images. So I'm just going to kind of show you first what CSS is, what it kind of does, and then I'll show you some options for formatting your images. So to get to the style sheet area, you're going to go up to Story and then find Style Sheet. And this is where you can add your CSS code. The CSS code is different than the Twine code. It's like a different language. And what you're doing when you write CSS is you are writing rules for Twine to follow, rules that Twine will apply to all of the passages in the entire story. And the way that you write these rules is you have a selector, which is like the name of an element in each passage. So in this case, P is my selector, which stands for paragraph. And then you have curly brackets, and then inside of the curly brackets, you're going to write the different rules. So for example, I could say color red. What this rule says is take all of the paragraphs, all of the paragraph text in my entire story, and make it red. That's all that rule says. That's what CSS is. That's sort of how you interpret CSS. And now if I go into my passage and I test it out, you'll see we have red text. That's what CSS says. And crucially, the CSS applies to the entire story. All of the passages, every single one is going to follow those same rules. So let's talk about images. Go back to my style sheet. I'll just go ahead and delete that. Images, there are a lot of different ways to format images. The first thing you're going to do is write the image selector, which is img, and then you can do your curly brackets. And then there's a lot of different options. I think one of the easy ones is width. And the width attribute allows us to set the width of the image. So I could set the width to 50%, for example, and the image would take up half of the width of the page. So we're going to see what that looks like here. It takes up half the width. Pretty good. There's a lot of other options, like border radius is another good one. Border radius. Border radius. And you set that in pixels. So this is like a 5 pixel border. Let's make it a little bigger. 12 pixel border radius. And what border radius does is it gives the image like a curved corner, which looks kind of nice depending on your style preferences and kind of what you want your story to look like. There's a ton of different image formatting options in CSS, like dozens of different rules you can add. And you know, it's not it's not necessarily easy for me to go through all of them. I'm not going to. But you can add multiple rules pretty easily just by adding in list format to that CSS section. So now we have border radius and 50%. There is one formatting thing I'm going to show you that's pretty useful, and it's making the image take up one half of the page and the text take up the other half of the page. So you kind of have like a column of image and a column of text. It's a pretty common kind of formatting decision. So to do that, it's a couple of rules. First, it's float left, which means that we're going to have the image stick to the left side of the screen. Position static, which means that nothing is going to force the image to go to a different spot on the screen. If there's like text around it or whatever, we'll set the width to 50%, so that only takes up half the screen width, and then we'll create a little bit of a margin on the right side so that the text isn't right up against the image. What this is going to do is give us a column of text next to the image. which I think looks pretty nice. You know, maybe there's a little bit of space here that I need to add. But yeah, it looks pretty good. You know, depending on how wide, I think like it looks a little bit better if it's wide like that. Now, let's fix the problem where the image was too close to the button. I can also add a margin to the bottom. Margin bottom, which is going to give me just a little bit of space, 50 pixels of space after the image. All right, that looks a little bit better. Now there's space between the bottom of the image and the button. So that's image formatting. Again, there's a ton of image rules in CSS. I'll put a link in the description that has a lot of different options you can try. If you are interested in seeing a text version of this tutorial with lots of different image options and examples of code and all sorts of stuff like that, you can check out the description. There's a link to the Twine Trail Guide, which has all that information for you. There's also lots of other tutorials on the Twine Trail Guide you can check out, especially if this image thing is new to you and you want to see examples of adding images. There's another tutorial down there. I'll link that in the description as well, because I think you probably need to know how to add images before you start formatting them. There's a lot of information out there. If you have any trouble with any of this, please let us know. We would love to help. Get in the comments of this video. Otherwise, good luck and happy coding.